Hello and welcome everybody. Today I want to talk about a little bit of psychology, fight or flight. All right, so I got all these circumstances going on in life. If you really think about, okay, well, let's say somebody said a particular thing to your girlfriend, wife, or husband, or whatever, but then somebody said that same exact thing to somebody over in another country. Okay, on one hand, it bothers us because it's personal. On the other hand, they said to somebody else in a different country, basically the same sentence that was said over here versus over there. One bothers us and one does not. Basically, we're throwing our personal onto life. In other words, like if we were walking through a forest, nobody's been in this forest for 50 years, and then I walk by, hey, that's a skinny tree, that's a tall tree, that's a sick tree. We're adding our personal self onto life. And it gets to where we got all these circumstances going on, and then it's like, well, if I could just basically get everybody and everything to be the way I needed them to be, then I could feel okay inside. Then my mind will get calm. Right? Basically, life is going to be life. It's not until we change our own perspective and our own viewpoint of what's going on and start allowing things to happen in life, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. As you change your perspective and viewpoint, the world around you changes as well. It's almost like that old saying that is basically, if you're smiling, then the world smiles with you. It's kind of really like that same effect. I mean, so, without doing that, it's like circumstance happens in life, and then now I'm either ready to fight or I'm ready to run. In other words, flight, fight or flight. That's the name of this video. That's the psychology end, but the spiritual end is acceptance, is allowance, in other words, of life to happen without throwing our personal self onto it. There's an ancient saying, it goes something like, yesterday I was clever and thought I would just make the world to be the way that I needed it to be, but today I am wise and realize I just need to change my own perspective. Because what happens is, as we allow more and more of the things that we don't want, we're also allowing the things that we do want. And that turning point comes to where it's, the majority of what you do want and just a little bit of what you don't want. And, it keeps cycling out. I've talked about past videos and cycles and all that. Then what happens if we don't do this, we start getting these patterns, and then like event happens and it's like, bam, straight to the point. Just something to think about. I love y'all. We'll see you on the next video.